Alrighty. So, saw SummoningSalt had a video, so I couldn't help but stream it because I've not been streaming my reactions to the latest videos, but this one. I've already seen the first like 5 seconds of this clip because of the bloody video playing, and he's already selling his merchandise. He's selling his merchandise through the video, which I did not expect. I may get some merch. I'm in Australia though, so I don't know. Anyway, let's I'm gonna show this stream's good to go. Let's get on the way.
Summoning Salt merchandise is now available on Teespring. Check out the storefront right below the video. Enjoy!
I played quite a bit of Mario Bros. Wii when I was a kid. Oh yeah. I don't think I completed every special world.
One of the fastest growing speedruns of the last few years is New Super Mario Bros. Wii. Close to 1,000 runs are on the leaderboard.
I didn't know that.
A mark that not many games have reached. Naturally, competition at the top level is impressive, because not many people can call themselves a world record holder. A world record demands near perfection, honing in skills that come after thousands of hours of gameplay. Few people have gotten to that level, but those who have etched their place in speedrunning history. This is the world record history of New Super Mario Bros.
Here we go. It really sucks my webcam is crashing. I use my phone through it, but it really sucks it crashes. Because there's too many USBs that I use to get this stream going. I use a USB extender and it's too many USB ports. What graphic you got here this time? Oh, you're going back to the chart there from Punch Out. Timeline.
Let's start up here
I got some new music
at the beginning. New Super Mario Bros. Wii was released on November 12th, 2009. Normally it takes months or even years before a speedrunning scene develops around a game. For New Super Mario Bros. Wii, it took 4 days. People nearly instantly gathered in the Speed Demos archive forums to route the game for a speedrun. In the following weeks, times of 45 minutes and 35 minutes were claimed by MWL and Chronorox, respectively, although neither have video proof. For the next several months, runner UC Pro would both route the game and complete speedruns, and in May 2010 he claimed the 2605, but once again he didn't record it.
Come on, guys.
To get to the first recorded run, we have to jump to May 2011, when Riker Z uploaded this run, a time of 26 minutes and 56 seconds. Riker Z started in World 1. Level 1-1 is quite straightforward, where you want to run and jump through to get to the end as fast as possible.
I can do that.
However, there are subtle optimizations you can make. Sliding down the hills gives you a slight boost of speed, and running through the checkpoint is the fastest way to power up. Riker Z also picked up the propeller mushroom
you need to power up.
In 1-2, he tilted the Wii remote to create downward slopes he could quickly run down, and picked up a star midway through, which increases your running speed.
Quite a
In
lot.
1-3, Riker Z used the propeller mushroom to fly up and access the secret exit, which unlocked the cannon to take him to World 5.
That skips
in 5-1,
3 or 4 worlds.
He had to deal with the water in the latter half, and he simply fell in and swam as quickly as he could. It slowed him down by several seconds.
Yeah, that would be optimized to this day.
After 5-1, you're forced to run into the piranha plants on the overworld map, where Riker Z collected the 8 toad balloons, albeit with a bit of a slowdown.
Surely you're working
You then have a choice of either playing 5-2 or 5-3, and Riker Z picked 5-2. It's a pretty straightforward stage, where you bounce on top of wigglers and run through the rest.
You don't get
Next
damaged
was
by
the
them.
World
do you?
5 Fortress, a vertical stage where having the propeller suit helps immensely. Riker Z was able to propeller up from platform to platform, then defeated Iggy with 3 jumps on his head. The next stage was 5-4. This stage is intended to be an auto-scroller.
Oh,
where you
no,
ride on this raft while enemies rain
no,
down from these
I know what
platforms
it's
above.
happening. You're using the propeller on the
It's
platforms.
designed to be long and slow, not ideal conditions for a speedrun. So, instead, Riker Z decided to implement the first game-breaking trick of the run.
Someone did this at GDQ in 2015, and they lost so much time because they died in this level and they lost the propeller. So they had to do the older scroller.
This was first posted by UC Pro just 2 weeks after the game came out, and takes some
Nintendo
practice
not see
to
this
get
coming?
right. But thanks to the propeller suit and navigating and
Like,
jumping
they
at
put
the correct
wall
times,
kicks in
it's
this game.
possible to skip the entire stage by jumping on the platforms and blocks. Riker Z did so beautifully, making a few brief hesitations but still flying through.
I don't blame him. It's pretty
After
terrifying.
5-4 came the World 5 Ghost House, where Riker Z took the secret exit once again to unlock another cannon,
You don't want
this
to lose the
time,
propeller.
taking him to World 8. The
This is a good
fastest
song.
path through World 8 consists of 5 levels: 8-1, 8-2, 8-7, the airship, and finally Bowser's Castle. In 8-1, Riker Z had to deal with randomly falling meteors, and he got hit twice. He powered back up, only to intentionally take damage again later on to boost through some lava. In 8-2, Riker Z once again took the secret exit to unlock 8-7, a hidden level that bypasses most of World 8. 8-7 itself is a long stage
It is.
consisting of jumping from spine coaster
I
to
remember it.
spine coaster. World 8's airship isn't an auto-scroller like in previous
I hated
games.
this level.
Instead, Riker Z had to run through and traverse it as quickly as possible.
Didn't have the propeller.
He picked up the propeller
There
shroom
you go.
again to jump across big gaps instead
Oh,
of having
yeah,
to wait
that
and
looks
slowly
terrifying.
bring the platforms down.
Appear below the
The
screen.
Bowser Jr. fight was simple, hitting him with 3 bombs that he dropped. And finally, there was Bowser's Castle. Riker Z used the propeller suit quite a bit to navigate at the
That was a
start,
bit slow there.
which isn't always the fastest. The last part of the run is the escape, where you have to guide Bowser's heat-seeking fireballs to destroy the path in front of you, then navigate through an obstacle course to the finish. In all, Riker Z finished after 26 minutes and 56 seconds.
Pretty good.
It was a good starting point. There were some
I don't know where
obvious
it is now,
slowdowns
but
that could be cleaned
that
up,
seems pretty
but
good.
no huge mistakes or deaths.
Yeah, no huge
And the
mistake.
video quickly went viral on YouTube.
Oh shit!
Over the next several months, Riker Z would continue running the game to push his time lower. At the end of 2011, he posted his first new time.
Oh my god, that's a big drop.
25:49. This run actually saved time over the 26:56 in every single stage. Most of his strategies were the same, but were better executed. In 5-1, for instance, he dealt with the water much better, jumping out earlier and just barely being able to make it to the end.
That is risky.
One of the biggest time saves
That's pretty
was in
far into the run
8-1,
too, so
where he
that's
managed to
that's heavy
avoid
reset
getting
there.
hit by the meteors and didn't have to power back up. But the best improvement was in Bowser's Castle. He guided the fireballs much better in the escape, using 9 fireballs to clear the path instead of 18 in his old record.
Wow,
In
half the size.
2012, Riker Z would get 2 more records, a 25:31 and a 25:27.
All right, little improvements.
These runs both optimized existing strategies and utilized new ones. In the escape, Riker Z was able to use just 7 fireballs to clear the
Wow.
path ahead, the fewest ever achieved.
How did you
In
how did you
8-2,
use 18?
He picked up a
that
star
first
to
one?
get additional speed instead of damage boosting as Big Mario.
Yeah.
And in World 5, he chose to play 5-3 instead of 5-2. It was a more difficult stage, but a slightly faster one if performed optimally.
Yep.
Riker Z had left his mark on New
I do
Super
like this
Mario
timeline
Bros. Wii
graphic, but I'm
speedrunning.
not used to it yet.
4 world records in a year and a half. He stopped running the game. But then something very interesting happened.
Alright, tell me.
Despite years going by and many new runners emerging, Riker Z's world record remained unbroken. The leaderboard grew and players got better, but Riker Z's years-old effort was too much to top. Finally, in 2016,
It's 10
someone
minutes
broke
out of a
through.
50-minute video.
His name was Green Uprooter, and he beat Riker Z by 1 second. But unfortunately, he didn't record it. Green
come on,
Uprooter
mate.
had recorded competitive times before this run, and is a trusted community member, so his 25:26 is taken at face value,
Oh,
but
come
it
on.
can't be viewed today. That left the world record in an awkward place. It had taken 3.5 years to shave 1 unrecorded second off the record. Now, there was no telling when it would be broken again. But in early 2016, a new runner was climbing up the leaderboards. Quickly, it became inevitable that he was going to be the next record holder. In April 2016, he officially did it,
Oh my
closing
god.
out a 25:23 to beat Green Uprooter
Dude,
by
just
3
second by
seconds.
second.
But this guy wasn't just any world record holder. He had reached the top, and he intended to stay there for a long time. His name was Ochgard.
I should know that name because someone did a world progression video of this game years ago. But I don't remember it.
Ochgard had been around the speedrunning block before, achieving top times in Mega Man X3, Crash Tag Team Racing, and many other games. It makes sense that he was quickly able to get the record in New Super Mario Bros. Wii. But what nobody could have expected is that the very next day, he did it again, a 25:22. And the
Okay.
next day, another record, a 25:19. Ochgard had set 3 world records in 3 days.
No big
He
jumps
was
yet.
more consistent than any player who had come before him, meaning he hit tricks more often and made fewer mistakes. A big place he saved time was in the escape, navigating through the platforms quicker and hesitating less. And overall, he was able to execute most tricks more cleanly, shaving fractions of a second off in
It
several stages.
already looks pretty well optimized, and we're not even
After
halfway
these
through the
3
video.
records, Ochgard took a break from the game. Nobody came close to challenging him, with the closest active runner still being 16 seconds away. His
That's actually
skill
not
level
terrible.
was far ahead of the rest, so he didn't really need to keep defending the record. But he came back in August anyway, and immediately got a 5-second world record. Ochgard's
Alrighty.
25:14 was his smoothest run yet. He cleaned up a small mistake in 5-3 from his last
Ooh, yeah.
run, doing a small jump to be able to
That's
run
just
under
scary.
the
I remember
blocks
those
while on the
platforms.
log.
That just looks
His
scary.
5-4 execution was also smoother, as he didn't pound the blocks he landed on and was able to continue moving. And in 8-1, he didn't slow down as much while propellering over the lava. These all added
Just
up
hate
to
how
a
slow
few
that
seconds
looks,
of
but
time
there's not much you
save,
could do.
and he didn't lose any significant time anywhere else. With a 25:14, Ochgard had pulled way ahead, 12 seconds ahead of second place, and 21 seconds ahead of any active runner. He had set a total of 4 records, and barring any new developments, it seemed like nobody else had a real shot of catching him. But still, probably Ochgard's most unlikely feat was the 3-day streak of records he had back in April. Even setting a record on back-to-back days is extremely rare, so
Sure.
extending that streak to 3 days, it practically never happens. Not only did it show complete dominance of a category, but it showed a level of consistency that was unrivaled. It was undoubtedly a once-in-a-lifetime accomplishment for Ochgard.
Until someone did it more. Yep. I knew it. The music build-up just tells ya.
Yes, from August 16th through the 18th, Ochgard once again set 3 world records in a row. Doing this once was staggeringly unlikely, but in all my years of research, I've never heard of someone doing it twice. All 3 records were 25:12s, but each one was slightly lower than the last.
Still records.
The time saves were minimal, but impressive in their own right.
And you got live
The
splits.
first record had a particularly clean Bowser's Castle. The second cleaned up a mistake in 5-3, and the final shaved a fraction of a second on the rolling hills in 8-2. But still, these 3 records weren't good enough for Ochgard. 2 weeks later, he'd lower it again with a 25-10, his 8th world record.
The little ones.
Ochgard was quickly approaching a barrier, a sub 25-minute run. He was 10 seconds away. Did he have that much time left to save? Well, there were still fractions of a second he could get from
We're not even halfway through the video.
Stages. In terms of stuff he'd gotten in a run before, all that time save would put him at 25:05. Still 5 seconds away. But there was one other trick he could go for. It would be the hardest trick in the run by far, but it would get him to sub 25. This
20-second
is
save.
556.
Never heard of this. Here we go. We'll learn something.
In the second half of the World 5 Fortress, the spiked walls move back and forth on a cycle throughout
Oh
the
yeah,
entire
you're gonna try to
level.
get the cycle earlier. Ooh.
Normally, with fast movement, you make it to the top and then have to wait a few seconds for the spikes to finish their cycle so you can get to the door. Typically, you enter the door with 546 left on the timer.
So you can save 10 seconds?
However, with unbelievably fast movement, it's possible to barely reach the top a cycle early. You can just fit in before the spikes move and block your path, and you wind up reaching the door at 556. This was originally thought to be tool assisted only, as the precision involved is truly incredible. Your moves have to be just right, where the instant you land,
Motion controls
you
too.
have to be starting your next jump up. But in late August 2016, Ochgard became the first human to pull off 556. He just barely squeezed in before the gap closed.
Oh, wow.
With this, he proved that it was a
looks pretty
human
good.
viable trick. It saves 7.5 seconds, since the in-game timer moves a bit quicker than
Oh
a real
yeah, I was a
second,
bit worried about that.
which means that when combined with the stages of 25:05, a sub 25 was indeed technically possible.
That's a
So
that's
the
midway through the
goal
run
was now
though.
in sight. With nobody else close to his skill level, Ochgard was the only one with any chance to do it. It was still a long shot goal, but at least there was a narrow path to sub 25. He would have to shave time off wherever he could, then nail 556 to get the bulk of the time save.
I
If he
just don't
could
like it.
pull
It's midway
all
through
that
the
off,
run.
It would be an essentially unbeatable speedrun. For the
Essentially,
rest of 2016, Ochgard played more than he ever had before.
he's done 70
And
hours.
over the next few months, this is what happened.
That's cool. That jump underneath the third block just keeps you up from the moving block. I like, yeah, this new music. Like, SummoningSalt is good music taste. I'll give it to him. I love the music.
Oh my god.
Oh yeah.
You get it?
Yep.
You did.
Yes.
You know, it's pretty shocking when you have to ask twice. This is still 2016. All this happened in 2016.
After weeks of trying, it had happened. The legendary, unimaginable sub 25. This was very close to being a perfect speedrun. At the end of a run that had gotten 556, that was 5 seconds ahead of the record, Ochgard was able to get a gold split on Bowser's Castle. It was the fastest he had ever completed the last stage in a run. His movement was impeccable, and he saved all the time he could. Ochgard could finally celebrate and take it easy. He had gotten his ultimate run,
Did he choose not to,
and
though?
there was no need to bother defending it. And so, he didn't.
Okay.
For the rest of 2016 and throughout 2017, nobody was really doing world record attempts in New Super Mario Bros. Wii. The community considered Ochgard's time to be essentially unbeatable, and it made sense why.
We're only 20 minutes in, and they're saying this round's unbeatable, essentially unbeatable. Oh boy, what's gonna happen here? I'm really excited.
You'd have to get 556, which fellow top runner Gix01 described as a 1 in 50 trick. Then you'd have to find a way to save time in one of the other stages. Ochgard did not leave much room for this. And finally, you'd have to match his incredible Bowser's Castle split, which ended with a 511 on the in-game timer. As 2017 progressed, people did improve their times, but nobody was close to 24:58. Entering 2018, it really did seem as though Ochgard had achieved an unbeatable world record.
Not even halfway through the video.
Felt that maybe on the outer limit, a 24:55 would be possible. By doing quicker wall kicks in 5-4, doing spins later into jumps in the airship so Mario moved faster for longer, and other small optimizations like those. He stopped short of calling his record unbeatable, but it's clear that neither he nor anybody else in the community felt there was much wiggle room. And then in April 2018,
oh, 2018.
This happened.
Is that like a 30 or 40?
45.
45, wow.
How on earth was that possible?
Oh, Jesus, how close do you need to go?
Certainly this run pulled out all the stops, like 556, right? No, this run didn't have 556, so it lost a little over 7 seconds. Well, certainly this time was achieved by an established runner like Ochgard, right? No, it was from a new runner named Fade Vanity. Alright, so what happened here? Well, Fade Vanity was a runner who quickly rose up the leaderboards in early 2018 until he had a low 25. He performed the 24:45 on April 13th, 2018, and other than missing 556, the run was incredibly smooth from start to finish. 8-2 in particular was fantastic, finishing with a nearly unheard of 424 on the in-game timer. But that's not why this run was the record.
Game breaking strat.
This run had a massive time save because of a huge new trick in the airship. And that trick is called Bombless.
Trying to recognize it.
At the end of the World 8 airship, you have to fight Bowser Jr.
Oh, use the propeller.
The intended way to fight him is to wait for him to drop a bomb, then ground pound to send it back up to hit him. Do that 3 times and Bowser Jr. is defeated.
It's already quick.
For years, that's how players fought him in runs.
Oh yeah, you have to wait for him to bring the bombs down. Okay.
In August 2017, runner I Love SMB found that in the World's 6 airship, it was possible to defeat Bowser Jr. by jumping on him 3 times, instead of using the intended clown cars. Runners then theorized that this could apply in the World 8 airship fight as well, which is what you do in an any percent run. However, the gap between Bowser Jr. and the top of the screen is smaller than Mario's hitbox, so despite players trying, nobody could fit in the gap to hit Bowser Jr. on the head. For a few months, that was the end of it. But in January 2018, former world record holder Green Uprooter figured it out. The key was Bowser Jr.'s movement. He not only moves horizontally, but also vertically in a sinusoidal pattern, oscillating from a low point to a high point. So if you fly up to him, then perform a ground pound in a 1 to 2 frame window when Bowser Jr. is at the lowest point in his oscillation, Mario's hitbox briefly shrinks just enough to fit in the gap so you can hit Bowser Jr. If you're able to pull this off, it saves 13 seconds, an incredible amount of time for a run like this. The problem is, it's really difficult. The only way to practice it was to load a file with propeller shrooms, then play the second half of the stage over and over. When Green Uprooter first discovered it in January 2018, It was thought to be an RNG related trick because nobody could hit it with any consistency. In fact, it took 2 more months before somebody hit it in a run, when Gix got it in March. Doing bombless saves up to 13 seconds, but doing double bombless, where you skip 2 of the 3 bombs, saves up to 20. Triple bombless would actually lose time since simply ground pounding the other bomb is faster.
Okay.
But despite double bombless being theoretically known to be possible, nobody had ever performed it, even in practice. You'd have to hit the most precise trick in the game twice in a row. It just wasn't realistic.
It's like a weather tanko.
So that's what made it even more crazy when Fade Vanity got the world's first ever double bombless and finished the run as his 24:45 world record.
This song, yeah.
I did it. Oh my fucking god, I did it.
He sounds 17 or 18. Take it as a compliment.
Sadly,
if you're watching
Fade
this.
Vanity quit speedrunning in 2021 and deleted all videos of his runs.
What?
So, many of his world records are lost today, including his 24:45.
What?
A small amount of footage from this run and others were preserved in Connor01's record history video.
Oh, wow.
So we can see glimpses of what he did. But when he set this record in April 2018, the community was absolutely shocked at his accomplishment. And still, there was clearly more time to save. He didn't get 556, so a run in the 24:30s and possibly lower was possible.
I just don't understand. Why would you
Fade
take out your
Vanity was
videos
the
if you
new
are going to
top runner
retire?
of New Super Mario Bros. Wii, and while little footage remains of what he did over the next several months, his impact and legacy continue to this day. With time still left on the table, Fade Vanity committed to attempts, and went all out to drive the record down.
Yeah, thanks, Fade Vanity. Could have been in the SummoningSalt video. You do get excited, I don't know.
Let's go, we fucking did it, let's go, 3x, come on, let's go.
This song is so catchy. Sorry. I've had a Pepsi, that's why I'm burping. I deserve it after a physical game of footy.
Let's take a stroll over to the new Super Mario Bros. Wii leaderboards. You've got a number of runners with a low 25-minute time, and a few that had just broken into the 24-minute barrier, with the lowest being a 24:57. Then, you have Fade Vanity,
Jesus.
one of the most dominant record holders in all of speedrunning.
Oh boy.
He had set 5 records now, and when combining
Oh, we are halfway.
556,
Okay.
double bombless,
Still 20
and tight
minutes.
execution all around, he managed to take it under 24:30. Fade took a break after this, and his record really didn't seem to be in jeopardy. A few months went by, and while runners like the Coding Boy and DCA did creep into the 24:40s, there was still a lot of separation. It had turned into a battle for second place, which changed hands a few times in late 2019. But nobody had a chance of catching Fade Vanity. Nobody had his consistency or skill. As for Fade himself, he initially didn't have much of a need to continue playing the category. But by early 2020, new strategies were found once again. The days of huge time saves seemed to be in the past, but minor strategies like this would be crucial in finding time to save over the record. They both came in World 8 and were both found by Astix. In 8.1, normally you have to significantly slow down after propellering over this
You just
lava.
damage boost it?
However, by picking up and carrying a shell, you can throw it and end Mario's spin early,
Cool.
meaning you slow down much less.
Oh, that's cool.
In 8.2, the rolling hills throughout the stage can destroy your speed.
Oh yeah, I remember that.
Astix found that by crouch jumping and releasing the crouch at the top of the jump, Mario's speed is reset back to normal, and once again, you don't have to slow down as much.
That's a millisecond there.
These tricks saved about a second and a half, meaning the potential was there for Fade to continue lowering the record. And on January 9th, 2020, that's exactly what he did.
Like a 25-minute run, and you're saving time by milliseconds.
Broke the tie.
Broke the tie? What tie? Well, the new Super Mario Bros. Wii leaderboard was going through a transition at this point. See, whenever the game fades to black, it's loading what comes next. These loads vary from disc to disc, console to console, or even within the same disc or console. Each load might only vary by a few tenths of a second.
That's massive
But
though.
over the course of a run, this can add up to 15 to 20 seconds.
Jesus.
That means that a player can have a much faster run, but fall behind because of loading times outside of their control. So, the community was transitioning towards subtracting all loads out of the final time. This would level the playing field, and as a byproduct, lower the time of each run by a bit over 2 minutes. Fade's 24:29 converted to a time of 22:20 without loads. In January 2020, a runner named Video completed a run of 24:35 with loads that the community thought might have tied Fade's run when retimed without loads, hence the comments at the end of Fade's run. It ended up being just behind it with a 22:23, but when Fade got his 24:28, that removed all doubt, and Fade was securely on top once again. In March 2020, timing without loads was made official, and the world record was now a 22:19.
Okay.
It's also worth mentioning that in recent months, players discovered that the way they originally retimed runs added a couple seconds in certain cases. Fade's 22:19 was originally timed as a 22:21, but for this video I'll be using retimed times for accuracy.
Okay,
Through
but
the
why
first
though?
few months of 2020, the leaderboard was starting to get tight at the top. The record remained the same, but people like Video were now just seconds away. Fade Vanity had been in the top spot for over 2
records,
years,
though. Go
setting
through all the
6
loads.
records and lowering the time by half a minute in the process. He was the third long-lasting record holder in the game's history, mirroring the domination that Riker Z and Ochgard once had. But other players were starting to catch up. Everyone's record reign needs to end someday, and with increased pressure at the top of the leaderboard, it seemed inevitable that a breakthrough was coming. And on July 2nd, that breakthrough finally came. This is Pidgey. Pidgey was early on a clear candidate
it's kind of
to
a
take
funny
the
name,
record.
I'll give him that.
He was a former world record holder in New Super Mario Bros. On the DS, so making the switch to the Wii version came naturally to him. After running the game for just a few months, Pidgey was within seconds of Fade Vanity's time. And on July 2nd, 2020, he got a 22:19.4, just barely ahead of Fade for a new world record. New strategies in World 5 were a key for this run. There was an even easier method for getting 556, developed by Tutti Polo. By doing an additional wall kick here, you're set up to more easily make it to the second wall kick, and have a much better chance at getting the fast cycle. And in 5.3, Monster found a trick nicknamed the Weird Shell Strat. If you're fast enough, you arrive at this Koopa right after he stops to dance, and can then pick him up to kill the Bram Ball and save half a second. There's also randomness on the overworld maps. The World 1
Oh, the
Goomba moves
Goomba.
3 times clockwise, meaning there's one direction he never moves. If this one direction is up, you save 35 frames, since the Goomba's up animation takes the longest. On the other hand, if that one direction is down, you lose that time, since down is his shortest animation. World 5 has similar randomness with the Piranha Plant, but it's less understood than the Goomba. These two spots have about a second of time variance combined, which is entirely out of the player's control. So, in July 2020, this was the state of the new Super Mario Bros. Wii leaderboard. In first place, you had Pidgey, the newcomer who clearly had enormous potential. And just a half second behind him, you had Fade Vanity, the veteran who had proven himself time and time again. So, who was better? Well, just 4 days later, Pidgey would set his second world record, a slightly lower 22:19.
Okay.
He saved time by successfully getting the shell boost in 8-1, but lost a bit in Bowser's Castle. 2 records in a row from Pidgey. It seemed he might be there to stay. But just 2 weeks later, Fade Vanity was back. Fade got a 22:18, marking the first time in the game's history that someone reclaimed the record after losing it. The time save mostly came from optimizing movement, and Fade was back on top. 6 days later, he was dethroned. A 22:16.
Surprisingly, Northumberland are up by 4 points
a run
against
that
Melbourne.
matched the fastest he had ever performed Bowser's Castle before. In October, a 22:15 from Pidgey. A month later, a lower 22:15 from Fade Vanity. 2 weeks later, a new record from Pidgey. That was 7 world records in the last 5 months. One new option they had was Bombful in 5-4. This stage had many small movement optimizations over the years,
Jesus Christ,
but
Melbourne is
Bombful was
struggling.
the biggest one. Yacker Tracker found that if you precisely jump off the first bomb, spin at the right time to bounce off the second
Oh
bomb,
my god, this is
then do a
awful.
blind twirl and bounce off the third bomb, it's possible to make it to the end of the stage without hesitating.
Oh my god,
It
that's
saves
actually
2 seconds, but is incredibly difficult, and
2
most
seconds,
players
it's 2
didn't choose
seconds.
to implement it. A few months later, Pidgey would strike again with a remarkable 22:13. But in May, probably the most bizarre moment in the game's history took place.
Okay.
A runner named Skippy had been a world record contender for months, but perpetually remained a few seconds behind the top spot. His skill level was right there, but stringing everything together for a world record run is incredibly challenging. On May 2nd, Skippy got a run off to a good start, essentially remaining tied with Pidgey's record through World 5. However, he started bleeding time in World 8, with a worse transition into the pipe in 8-2 and some sloppy movement in the airship. Combined, these lost him a couple seconds.
Oh, that's bad.
So despite matching Pidgey's Bowser's Castle, a new record was out of the question. Still, after the run he subtracted the loads, and he could see how much he missed the record by.
0.1.
He hadn't missed the record.
Oh.
Skippy had just gotten a 22:13.167.
Alright, talk to me.
A new world record by half a second. This did not make sense. He was tied going into World 8, then lost some time and finished the run. He didn't gain that time back anywhere. It was still a very well executed run, but this should not have been world record. Yet somehow, the time was faster than Pidgey's run. What happened? Well, the community looked into it. Runner Curran Joseph made a video removing all gameplay from Skippy's run, leaving just the overworld screens and cutscenes.
Oh no.
He then compared this video to Pidgey's non-gameplay sections. Everything was roughly in sync through Worlds 1 and 5.
Oh, here we go, World
But
8.
then, they arrived at the cutscene after stage 8-7.
Oh, what? No way.
Skippy's cutscene was almost 2 seconds faster. Curran quickly figured out why. You have the choice of playing New Super Mario Bros. Wii in a 4:3 or 16:9 aspect ratio.
Oh my god, really?
Skippy played on a CRT TV, so he selected the 4:3 mode. The game runs identically in each mode for an any % run, except during the cutscene after 8-7. In 4:3, black bars are added to the top and bottom of the screen. The game still loads these regions despite them not appearing visible. So, the airship above stage 8-7 loads when it's off screen, and the camera stops moving about 2 seconds sooner. Despite this seeming like an obvious find, players didn't discover this before Skippy's run because nearly all runners played on a flat screen in 16:9 mode. In fact,
Yeah, you wouldn't
only
think that
one
would
prior
change
record
anything.
holder played in 4:3. Riker Z, way back in 2011 and 2012. The time save wasn't known about back then, so with it being unearthed nearly a decade later, there were suddenly 2 more seconds on the table. So now, at the top of the leaderboard, you had 3 real record contenders. Skippy was the first obvious one. He was the current record holder, and while he may have benefited from the faster cutscene, he was still an incredibly talented runner. The second contender was Pidgey. All he had done was set the record 6 times in the past. He was still competing to lower it. But the third contender was someone I haven't mentioned yet. Someone who had snuck up to the top with a
This music in the
22:15,
background.
just 2 seconds behind the record. This is Billy Joe 66.
There was a
Billy began
YouTube
to
comment
ascend
about this
up the
quote. It was
leaderboards in late
hilarious.
2020. By the end of the year, he was in the top 10, and a month later, he was a bona fide record contender. He'd had a tragic run in February that hit Bombful in 5-4 and was about 3 seconds ahead of the record into
he
Bowser's
escaped.
Castle. Unfortunately, he misguided a fireball and had to use an extra one. And upon retiming the run, he missed world record by half a second. But Billy didn't give up there. He did
course not.
thousands of attempts. And partially thanks to the boost given by playing on 4x3, he found himself on world record pace with regularity. And a few weeks after Skippy's record, Billy was on another run deep. He lost a bit of time in the second half of World 5, but cleaned up the mistakes that Skippy had made in World 8. With about half a second lead, he entered Bowser's Castle and tried to close it out for good. Billy's run finished at 22:12.367, a world record by just under a second. He was now the 7th record holder in the game's history,
Only
and
7.
he had earned it. This was his 59th run to the airship since his last major personal best. He had finally been able to chain together double bombless and a clean Bowser's Castle, and the result was a world record. Once again, the game was approaching a barrier. With all time saves being utilized, a time under 22:10 was starting to seem feasible. But what time was left to save? Well, most of it was in World 5. Cleaner movement would save a second in 5-4, and Bombful would save a couple more. There were also minor improvements to be made in the Fortress and Ghost House. Those time saves would add up to a run just under 22:10. But there was work to do to get to that point. The record was still about 2.4 seconds away from a sub 22:10. As time goes on, most speedruns see smaller and smaller improvements to their records, and New Super Mario Bros. Wii was no exception. The last several records had all been improvements by a second, or half a second, or even less than that. To get an improvement of 2.4 seconds, you have to go 11 records back in time, to Fade Vanity's 24:29. The point is, it was gonna take a while to get the record under 22:10. Multiple improvements would have to be made, and players would have to grind hundreds or thousands of attempts. An incredible run was on the horizon, but it would take time to get it there. And then, in one attempt, Pidgey decided to lay waste to it all. He saved the time in World
Please
5,
don't be a debate.
hitting everything but bombful. He got the shell boost in 8-1 and the crouch jumps in 8-2. After hitting double bombless, it became all the more real. This was easily world record pace, but was it sub 22:10 pace? Maybe. It was right on the border between 22:09 and 22:10.
It's gonna be like 20.
It was coming down
to
to
be
the
a
wire.
10-1.
Pidgey
That's my
just
guess.
had to finish the escape, and the sub 22:10 could be his.
You're dead. Oh.
New
Oh.
Super Mario Bros. Wii has motion controls for certain actions.
Oh no.
If you shake the Wii remote with the propeller suit, you fly into the air. Pidgey had made it to the end, then put down his controller to hit the split button.
Oh.
But he did it a
what?
fraction of a second too soon, and it registered as a spin.
Oh.
At first, the community wasn't sure if this would still be a world record.
Oh no.
They couldn't tell until they removed the loads and retimed it. And when they did,
Oh no.
Pidgey found out that he had missed the world
Knew it.
record by 2 frames.
I knew it. Oh
It goes
my
without
god.
saying how hard it is to come back from moments like this. When you're so close and lose your ultimate goal to something as trivial as motion controls.
Oh my
And it's
god.
exceptionally hard to accept when you have competitors like Pidgey did. Billy still had the world record, and Skippy was just 1 second behind. He had done
Oh,
nearly
Lord.
4,000 attempts, ran the game for over 2 years, and had never had a pace this good this deep into the run. And sadly, there was no telling when he'd get there again. 11 days later, Pidgey had pulled a Dave Steeb. It took him just a week and a half to get back on the exact same pace. And I mean the exact same pace. It was almost an identical run into Bowser's Castle. He'd had a nearly flawless World 5 other than skipping Bombful, and hit the same tricks in World 8. He nailed double bombless.
A different pitch to the song.
And just like that, Pidgey had given himself another chance. Once again, he had to get through the escape.
I swear, if you do it again or you do something similar, you should not be speedrunning again. Come on, don't do it again. Okay.
Redemption for Pidgey. His miss from 11 days ago could have haunted him for months, but instead, in one straight shot, Pidgey had jumped all the way to sub 22:10. It was a landmark world record, and as the community celebrated, it was pretty clear that this one was gonna stand for a while.
Oh, I don't
There
think
were
it will.
still other competitors at the top, but Pidgey had gotten nearly everything you could get in a speedrun of the game. It was too tall of an order. And so, throughout the rest of 2021 and into 2022, Pidgey's 2209 remained alone at the top. In early 2022, competition continued to increase. New names appeared in the top 10, and pressure was starting to mount. But Pidgey's records still remained strong. The fact that he had gotten a 2209
Oh boy.
when nobody else could get below a high 2211 was indicative of his skill level. Even after months of attempts from the
It's
world's
a 20
best runners,
20-minute speedrun too.
no one was beating it.
So
The
much
simple fact
precision.
was, without getting Bombful in 5-4, Pidgey's record would be next to impossible to beat. And nobody was up to the task of getting it in a fast enough run. Until Billy came back.
Oh yeah.
On March 26th, 2022,
This is gonna be the record that
Billy
stands
had a
today.
fairly clean run into World 5. He hit Bombful in 5-4, gaining a couple of seconds over the record and instantly making his run much more serious. He then gained more time in the Ghost House via the meme jump through the Boo Ring.
You have to go for it.
Fortunately, he lost time in both
Oy.
8-7 and the airship. So despite making it through double bombless, he was about even with the record into Bowser's Castle. He'd need an unbelievable last stage for this to have a shot at the record. And all Billy did was proceed to have the best Bowser's Castle ever performed.
5:13.
And he beat Pidgey by less than 0.2 of a second.
Jeez.
This run is the current world record of New Super Mario Bros. Wii.
By 2/10. Oh my god.
Sub 22 might seem close, but right now it's quite unrealistic. A theoretical God run could clock in a few seconds above 22 minutes, but it's hard to see a path to a record below that at the moment. That being said, I have little doubt it'll one day come. Eventually, we'll hear of a 21-minute any percent run, but that day is not today. This is the history of New Super Mario Bros. Wii World Records.
I love that
Thanks for
timeline.
watching.
Still actively runs other games. Wow. Oh, this is a cool way to shout them out. Cool. No, I didn't think it would be. So you're shouting out all the ones that actually did get the world record. Still in the top 20. Come on. Come on. Yeah, true. Not yet. Of course you were gonna put him in. What a good video. Holy moly. I am very, very happy with that. That was a good video. I'm very happy. I do know this guy. He's a pretty good YouTube. He has a pretty good YouTube channel. He's how many subs? Near 200. Yeah, compared to like even 2 years ago, like I saw his video for the first time like 5 years ago. Like 5 years ago is when I first saw SummoningSalt. And look where he is now. 1.3 million subscribers. Incredible.